Okay, so here we are. My name is Bart Sharp, and the class is Stepping Out of Anxiety. I had a lot of different titles for this, but that seemed to be the best one. And, anxiety can be an addiction. I think it's one of the worst addictions that we can have, actually, because it stimulates us into nervousness, and then our perceptions become more narrow. If we are calm, if our heart's open, if we feel like everything is okay in our world, we are going to open to the most options in our awareness. That's, you know, how it works. Anxiety is kind of the opposite thing. It's almost like we're going down the rabbit hole and we see little else but what in front of us. And it's the same thing with repressed anger or acting on repressed anger. We just get in a tunnel vision. And, so much of the world is right there today in anxiety and tunnel vision. And you really can't say that that's just only because of the last 4 years. We are coming to this uh, part of anxiety. Now, it's really interesting that right now, astrologically, it's a very challenging time. And I can't tell you all the details of why that is so, because I'm not an astrologer, but I do read stuff from astrologers that seem to be very talented with that skill. And the gist of it is that we're going to be in challenging times probably till mid-November. That these different parts of us, the shadow parts, and you could call them the uglier parts, but really the shadow isn't all about having an ugliness inside of us. That ugliness only appears when you don't know your shadow or your repressed parts, and a lot about what you're fear of. And anxiety plays a big part of that because the anxiety reacts from the shadow. It reacts from the emotions. And so they all play this big part together. The thing with anxiety is it stimulates our adrenal glands and it puts them into overdrive. Whenever we go into anxiety, it's almost like the body, it's like a machine. It steps into a process of saying, oh, we have a crisis. We're in danger because, my brain is thinking these anxious thoughts or these fearful thoughts or even angry thoughts. And so as a reaction to the thoughts, the body stimulates the adrenal glands to give ourselves more energy. And that's the addictive quotient, is that when people are in their anxieties, they have more energy. But it's not a really fun energy, but it is energy. And so people get things done, and we have come to be a society that lives in that energy. We have all of these high-strung people running around, millions of them, that just live on that adrenal charge. And that's why I call it an addiction. People just get addicted to their anxiety, and it's not pleasant. That's the whole thing. It's really funny because we could take that same energy and turn it into excitement and have more energy uh, ongoing. Anxiety, on the other hand, drains us. We will always go up with the anxiety, and somewhere in the course we will go down, and then we'll go lower than our regular normal level energy. We'll go into a pitfall, and then we'll have to bring ourselves up. And this type of stuff is partially normal. However, when we put anxiety into the equation, it gets more extreme. And people want more extremes. And of course, they're gravitated to that is a part of their lives. Now, I just want to add one more thing with this. Right now is a really anxious time. And I think it's just been building. This wave has been building for many, many years uh, for various reasons. But uh, it brings up the question, well, what is the purpose of this? You know, the anxiety side that would be totally in fear is, well, we don't know if we're going to survive. The worst thing's going to happen, and you know we're going to be in such trouble here. The world could all fall apart. Uh, those are the anxieties. Um, what we're also doing is we're dipping into our shadow very deeply of our repressed issues. And this, even though this time has been driving us into this anxiety, it's also giving us an opportunity to evolve out of our shadow in a way that we've never done before and promote this to the collective consciousness to evolve to a greater place. And I think a year from now, we will be looking back and saying, wow, we're at such a greater place of peace and love than we've ever known before. We are actually working together and cooperating. And we don't have so much of this polarity going on between people and groups and ideologies. Um, and that would be the benefit of evolving beyond this shadow. And the people that are working to change this are not in the news. They're people like you and me that are working at a higher vibration, that are working to resolve, that are doing these things to make something possible. And, you know, we're all much more powerful than we ever thought. So, with that said, let's look at anxieties. You know, there is our personal story with this that we have from our past with our mother and our father and family. There's another part that is how we are interacting with our daily lives, our work, our friends, what we see on the news, you know, how we interact with the current, just our relationship with it. And the third part is um, the collective unconscious of it. You know, the vibration going out there that many of us feel and know it's there. And it's, you know, it's just there. It's, you know, and that's what we have to call that is awareness, that we can feel it. And isn't that a great thing that we can? So what we're going to do with this class is kind of go into some of the stories that are challenging us in our own lives and kind of interact with it on these three levels. And then we're going to do some other things. And you know, as a friend of mine said the other day to me, he goes, if all the light workers that were really sending light to the world joined in and got together, they could change things tremendously. And yes, we are in certain events and stuff, and we just need to continue to do so, to get together in communities and expand that out. So I wanted to start this class with a basic one, and really, if there's something that anybody has in their own personal story that they're saying, this is anxiety for me, you know, it's a great time. You know, it's wonderful to bring that up and process that. And probably everybody else has that same issue at some level So you served a group by bringing this up. But the one that I wanted to bring up that I think everybody just hits the wall against is work is hard. Work is something that is draining for me. And it's really funny when we were all in lockdown in March and April, even though everybody is afraid, there was this great calm that went out through at least Austin, and I'm sure went around the world, that we got to just relax a little bit more and be in a safer place inside of our home and stay there and let that uh, open us to evolve more. Because we really did evolve a lot as a collective consciousness during that time. So work is hard. Um, how much anger do we have that we don't want to go to work? You know, work requires us to focus. It requires us to take a lot of our energy out of that relaxed state and channel it into something. And so, you know, the worst thing about work, in my opinion, is starting it. You know, it's funny, every time I have a private session with somebody, there's a part of me that doesn't want to do it because I know what it's going to require of me is to gather all of my energies together and put it in one focused place. And that's an effort. And at the same time, I love doing private sessions. It's one of my favorite things to do in life. So it's just really ironic that that energy there is there. But let's just take that consciousness about what's it like to drive to work, what's it like to sweat, what's it like to have a pressure of an expectation put upon us. Even though we may agree to go to this job and we signed a contract saying, yes, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be there at work, I'm going to perform, it still doesn't feel pleasant for a lot of people. So how much anger is there with that? And, you know, I feel it a lot in people's guts, down in their intestines, a lot on their feminine side. So we'll start on the feminine side. How much sadness is there that we don't get to relax? We don't get to be in a safe place of love and family. And when I say family, I mean, it really, I get the sense that it just goes back to childhood. Like I have to leave my family and my room and all my playful toys because I got to go to school. And that's kind of where it starts, going to school. So, you know, we're just that, what is that angry energy of having to suck it up, get out of bed, put on nice clothes, all of those things. And one level, it's an adventure, but for a lot of people, you know, just getting all of that organized is not fun at all. So, how much sadness is with that, with anger? So all the sadness with that, and we're really working in the spleen at this point, of a sadness that we have to perform, go to work, go to school, do these things that other people require us to do, that our society requires us to do. So all the force and energy that you hold those energies in place, will you please destroy and uncreate all of that totally and utterly? Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, all 9 shorts, boys, and beyonds. So all of those statements of, I don't want to go, I don't want to do this, I don't want to go to work, I'd rather be someplace else, I'm still sleepy. And that polarity of that, all the decisions, judgments, compilations, and conclusions, you've done that in life. Will you please revoke, recant, rescind, reclaim, renounce, denounce, destroy, and uncreate that totally and utterly. Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds. And how much have you been told that it's right to work? It's the right thing to do. And it just doesn't feel right for you. And I'm not telling you to be lazy and do nothing. It's just this attitude that if you're a worthwhile person, you work. And I just think there's another part of us that doesn't really agree with that. And eventually we all work, and I love to work, but there's just one aspect of it that I really wish to clear. So everything that is in that collective consciousness of all of these people going to work, going to school, and being in that collective consciousness that we got to be someplace that we really don't want to be. All of that anger, all of that sadness in that collective consciousness, and all the vibrational specificities that are holding that in place, and all that you're connected to it, will you please destroy and uncreate that totally and utterly. Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds. Yeah, it's kind of like your inner child doesn't get to prevail in this thing. You just are supposed to grow up and be in this place. And this is a huge conflict, I think, in all of our psyches, is we leave that inner child behind, or that small child in us that is more connected to the parasympathetic nervous system, that is relaxed, open, loving, nurturing, playful, vulnerable, non-defensive, and they go out into the world. You know, the inner child is kind of like your cat. You know, it just wants to stay at home and relax. Mm-hmm. So how much polarity do you have with that? Of, I got to get moving, I got to get cracking, all the anger, all the fear with that, and the polarity of, no, I just want to love myself and relax. All the double binds and double binding systems holding that in place, where you pock and pod the ends, pock and pod the middle ground, and destroy and uncreate that totally and utterly. Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds. And how much have you gone and just said, I just got to accomplish things? And you're accomplishing things that might be beyond what you really need to accomplish. It's kind of that desire that I need to make $1 million, but really all I need is much less than that. But that ambition, I got to be the best in my field, but really I'd rather just be good at what I do and have a lot more time to nurture myself, because being the best means that I have to be driven in a way that is unpleasant for my body. So everything that is, that creates that drive, will you please revoke, recant, rescind, reclaim, renounce, denounce, destroy, and uncreate that totally and utterly? Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds. And how much have you been made guilty, or projections of guilt? People telling you, well, if you don't achieve a lot, if you don't accomplish all of these things, you're wrong. You need to grow up and be something. Make a I want to say make a man out of yourself, but everybody here is a woman except for me. So I will just take the gist of that. So how much guilt is there that's been projected onto you? You got to perform. And how much anxiety is in that feeling? Um, and how much sadness is in that? Um, all the polarity between sadness and anxiety that I got to go out and accomplish. I got to get energy. I got to drive. I got to do all of these things. And then on the other side is a sadness that's like, gee, I'd just rather nurture myself. I would rather be still and relax and do something that is the right speed for me. I'd rather know me and know my tempo. That would be better. So everything that is, all the double binds and double binding systems holding that in place. Will you pocket pod the ends, pocket pod the middle ground, destroy and uncreate them all, totally and utterly. Right, wrong, good, bad, pot on, ain't shorts, boys, and beyonds. And all the guilt you have that creates that anxiety, like I gotta get up and drive, or drive myself, to work, or drive myself crazy with all of this extra stuff I'm always putting on myself because that makes me feel like a good person. My parents' image of me is fulfilled by being this good person. All of what that anxiety is, all of what that guilt is, all of what that sadness is, and that's kind of a triangle there. I'm going to approach it on the masculine side. We've been working on the feminine before, but the masculine works out of the liver, and it works in a defensive way of, I got to drive, I feel guilty, and I'm sad about it. All the triangulations with that, and all the decisions, judgments, compilations, and conclusions holding that in place. Will you please revoke, recant, rescind, reclaim, renounce, denounce, destroy, and uncreate that totally and utterly? Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds. And how many vibrational specificities do we have of that guilt? In other words, everybody's running on that guilt, that drive to get out there and get it done. And you could probably put shame in there as well, but it's always this feeling that we got to accomplish something and it doesn't feel like it ever truly gets fulfilled. All the decisions, judgments, compilations, and conclusions holding that in place, will you please revoke, recant, rescind, reclaim, renounce, denounce, destroy, and uncreate that totally and utterly. Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, on, ain't shorts, boys, and beyonds. And how much of your adrenal glands are in that vibration of guilt? That I drive from that place, but also it would have a form of anger with it, because guilt is all about trying to correct something. And we're using an energy like a redeeming energy to push forward and take action. Anger kind of pushes forward and take action too. So they kind of work together. They're very close vibrationally to each other. So in relation to that, or those two energies, what do we hold in our adrenal glands? What do we hold in our body? And what do we hold in our kidneys, liver, and spleen that hold all of that in place? Boy, that one's kind of big. I can't even think about what I'm going to say next. So all the ways, means, methods, modalities, form, structure, significances, protocols, factors, and vocal points that we hold this energies in place with our anger and our guilt, all in this complexity of liver, spleen, adrenal glands and kidneys, uh, and all the protocols, factors, and vocal points of positive and negative ions, free radicals that hold them in place. Will you please destroy and uncreate those totally and utterly? Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyonds. So everything that is multiplied, but that feeling work is hard. That's in our liver, in our spleen, in our kidneys, and in our adrenal glands, of that hardship and that heaviness. And what other triangulated emotions are there? Shame reads, guilt and anger for this group. So that would be, I'm not good enough with shame. The guilt would be, I've made a mistake and I got to correct it. And anger is, I got to push forward and make this happen. All the triangulated realities with that, all the decisions, judgments, compilations, and conclusions holding that in place, will you please revoke, recant, rescind, reclaim, renounce, denounce, destroy, and uncreate that totally and utterly. Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyonds. You know, whenever I see guilt in the equation, I'm also looking about, is there a lie with it? In other words, somebody told us something and we bought it as true, but it's not really true. It's just somebody else's value, and it's really not what we are. You know, I think a great example, and this one plays around in my head, it's like, I need to be out at some of the protests. I need to be a part of that process. And I need to be on the streets, out there, yelling and screaming with everybody else. That is a guilt and something projected like, you are not worthwhile unless you are seen taking action. And that's my own personal story. And that's, and it's like, you are seen taking action. You got to be out there with other people. And the reality is I, and probably everybody here, promotes consciousness by being in our hearts, loving other people, being kind to other people, and we can do it in our living room. It sure fits the COVID times philosophy really well. But everything you misidentified and misapplied, that you have to go out and be seen in the world, be active in the world for you to be a part of its evolution. What guilt is there? Okay, what shame is there? What anger is there? Now, all three of these read. I'm just going through the list and seeing what is really intense. And so wherever you're at, you know, just feel into your body when I say these words and see if they resonate with you. In other words, if you feel something change and spark or get heavier, denser, more anxious, etc., you know that this really applies to you particularly. What fears are there? Fears read as well. All of the decisions, judgments, compilations, and conclusions we made to work in those realms, will you please revoke, recant, rescind, reclaim, renounce, denounce, destroy, and uncreate all of that totally and utterly. Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyonds. You know, I always say that there's 5 main emotions. There's 3 primary emotions and 2 that are kind of reactionary. I'm sure everybody's heard me say this before, but I'm saying this as much for YouTube as anything. You have Shame, fear, sadness. Those are the three primary core emotions. Anger is the fourth emotion, and it kind of reacts to the other three. Whatever you have anger in, it's always going to have one of these other emotions underlying it. And the fifth emotion, and this is taught to me by a therapist, was arousal. And arousal meaning the feeling of expansion in your life. It can be happiness, it can be joy. You know, arousal can be happily riding your bicycle down the street on a sunny day. Also, it can be love and the expansive qualities of love. So, how many of y'all have got in that belief that your love is not big enough, not expansive enough to be more valid than these emotions such as anger, anxiety, confusion, not knowing, guilt, shame, and fear? All that you've bought that story that the negative is what you work out of primarily, and hopefully love will show up in the process. All that you've misidentified and misapplied that concept, all the decisions, judgments, compilations, and conclusions you bought with that, and all that you've been taught that by parents, teachers, friends, and all the other people and all their messages, particularly the media, television. Would you be willing to claim on and acknowledge to yourself that your love is the critical mass change agent? In other words, critical mass meaning it takes you over the top, takes you to the other side of change. So would you claim on and acknowledge that your love is the critical mass change agent that does change realities, that does change your life, and is a collective consciousness that changes the world? So would you claim on and acknowledge that in your life, that you can have that? Everything that is, right, wrong, good, bad, pod, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds. Whew. So everything that you bought these other realities as more important as your love. And this goes back to the childhood issues we worked with earlier. Our child, the love that we had as a child eventually becomes invalid, unrecognizable. It's not valued by other people because they're doing their adult lifestyle, which doesn't really have the same viewpoint of a child's love. And, you know, a child's love is one of the most important aspects that we as adults would most likely want to get back to if we are on a spiritual path to evolve. It's getting in touch with that aspect of ourselves. So everything that you bought, that the fear, the shame, the guilt, the anger, is more important than that. And all the vibrational specificities that you have gathered with that, will you please revoke, recant, rescind, reclaim, renounce, denounce, destroy, and uncreate that totally and utterly? Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds. And everything that you bought that your love is not an important element in what is going on in the world these days, will you please revoke, recant, rescind, reclaim, renounce, denounce, destroy, and uncreate that totally and utterly? Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds. And everything that you bought that giving love to your family. And when I say giving love, I mean, it's just a matter of like, I got this in my heart. It's loving. It's a very powerful place. And I'm not going to close it up anymore. I am going to open this up to everybody. I'm going to get out of my judgments and get out of my fears and just let myself breathe with this heart. That's a great way to say it. Breathe with my heart. In other words, this opens up and it sends out, just like my breath. It just goes out there to other people. It's kind of like the picture of Jesus and Mother Mary when they're opening up their chest and you're supposed to see a big S like Superman. What you see is this heart and all this light shining out of it. It's the same thing. So would you be willing to reveal that to others? Would you be willing to have that turned on? Everything that is, right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all 9 shorts, boys, and beyonds. I don't know about y'all, but all of a sudden, my body got a whole lot lighter. Just writing that thing, because we all did it together. And I hope your bodies feel lighter, just right in that instant. So would you claim on and acknowledge that this is a super powerful gift that you give to yourself, your family, your friends, and to the world? Everything that is, right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all 9 shorts, boys, and beyonds. So just feel this light out there and feel it going out. So everything that's in your anxiety, that life is hard, and right now we're in a hard time. It's hard. We don't have the money. We don't have the work. We don't have yada, 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 yada. My family doesn't have the money. Family doesn't have the work. Yada, 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 yada. All of that good stuff. All of what you carry that in your body, where is it located? In other words, can you feel the stress when you think about those thoughts that I am living in hardship and other people are living in hardship that I know and love? Is there any place that feels anxious, hard, dense, uncomfortable? Well, that's where it is. That's where the limitation that you're holding is located. So feel that energy. Now, it's not bad energy or wrong energy. It's just energy. It's an implanted reality that you're holding. And now, close your eyes if you're not have them closed yet, and open your heart. See this light inside of your heart and allow it to go to that place what is anxious. And if you can't feel that, just visualize a light coming from your heart and going into your liver, because that's where we mostly hold our defensiveness and our emotions that we're using to strike out onto the world. In other words, like anger and fear and guilt and all of that good stuff. And just allow that energy of your light to go to that place and give it another energy. And give the permission that you have given that anger or that fear or that guilt or sadness or shame, whatever it is, can you unlock that permission and say, I don't have to pay credence to you anymore. You're important in my life, but you are no longer the priority. I choose to have this other energy that is with you and gives you balance. It gives you reason. And everything that you have held anger in your body for no particular reason, but just to hold it. You can't even identify why it's there anymore. It's been there for so long. Would you allow that to begin to unravel? You no longer need to have that reserve of energy to spark you up so you can go to work, go into attack, go defend yourself, whatever. You no longer need it. So would you claim on and acknowledge that you will know what to do in any given time? Therefore, you no longer have to hold the anxiety. So everything that is, right, wrong, good, bad, pod, all 9 shorts, boys, and beyonds. So this doesn't take long. Just a few moments of allowing the light of your heart to go to this spot and give it energy. You're just feeding it another energy. And then it shifts and turns. So I want you to go to a story in your life of what you really feel anxious about. It could be that, well, how am I going to pay rent? Or I worry about a family member. I worry about bad things happening in the world. Just pick one thing and say, I would like to connect with the energy of, state out the theme. And where is that located in my body? And everything that you've made secret, hidden, invisible, covert, unseen, unsaid, undisclosed, unacknowledged about that energy, we allow those secrets to be revealed. Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all 9 shorts, boys, and beyonds. And can you allow yourself to feel and perceive the full awareness of that energy that makes you so anxious? Feel where it's located and just feel its vibration. And everything so secret, hidden, invisible, covert, unseen, unsaid, undisclosed, unacknowledged about it, we allow those secrets to be revealed. Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all 9 shorts, boys, beyonds. Is there a message it wants to tell you? It's good to know. Sometimes you get a message, sometimes you just feel the energy. Now, connect back with your heart. Turn the light on and send it down to this place. And give it all the love and energy it needs so it finds balance. It's no longer a weight in your world. It's just an energy, and it's changed. And all the thoughts you've had that, I just don't want this, I want to avoid it. Would you allow that to change and allow the heart energy to move with you? Awesome. You know, I'll tell you a short story. I've been doing a meditation for the last, I'm about on 30 days now. And every evening I lay in my bed before I go to sleep and I ask the energy of Sophia to come into me. And I feel like I'm floating on a star system, on the stars itself, the universe. Because Sophia is the goddess of the universe. She's a very old goddess that comes long before, Isis, Shakti, Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene. She's the goddess of the goddesses. So I've been asking that energy to come into my body, and it's just been a very ecstatic feeling. And, I do this for an hour or so, and it's always just amazing. So here I am with that. And one night, though, I get on Facebook before I get into meditations, and I start reading a lot of the negative news stories. And some of them I just can't really receive. Most of them, when I find that I fear something, I look at it and see what my truth is to it. In other words, what am I really afraid of? And when I see that, I can generally tell myself, okay, I'm willing to receive that fear. I'm okay to have it. And all of a sudden, my resistance to it goes away. However, this particular night, I couldn't do that. I was just so upset with things going on in the world. And I couldn't really see that I didn't want to quit fighting against the belief that everything was going to go wrong. Uh, and that fight had a relevant place in it. But what the price I had to pay was I couldn't let go of my fear. It was there, and I had to accept it. Like, this fear is here, and you're not going to quit fighting for this cause to change it. So therefore, you're into fear just like everybody else that feels the same as you do. So what I did was, when I went into my meditation, was the fear wouldn't go away. It was very prevalent in my body. And so um, I just let love surround it. In other words, you have this bit of fear, which is in my solar plexus, and all the love went around it, and they just existed together. And that felt like a really healthy place for me, because I'm not going to let go with this particular issue. I'm going to advocate, fight, do things to make that happen. And I just couldn't let go of the fear. It's really interesting. Sometimes in your gut, you're just in that place. So think about something that is really hard for you to let go of, and you haven't had any movement on it. It's just that overbearing feeling that this is not going to go away anytime soon, or maybe the feeling that it's never going to go away. So what is that story for you? And everything that you've made secret, hidden, invisible, covert, unseen, unsaid, undisclosed about that energy, will you allow these secrets to be revealed? And will you allow the total fear or the anger or sadness about it, or shame, come out fully and feel it in your body? Where is it located in your body? And does it have a message for you? Just feel what it is today. And now, get in touch with your heart and surround it with love. You're not trying to penetrate it. You're not trying to change it into something that's not, or change it into something that's love. You're just letting the two be together. There's so many things that are beyond our control, and sometimes we have to hold that anxiety or sadness, fear or anger or shame there, and we can let the light be around it. So just see that, this limitation with a light fully around it. And you concentrate on both. Concentrate on the limitation. Concentrate on the love. The limitation most likely has an important gift or message for you, and you haven't evolved to a place to where the negativity no longer exists, because the resolution or the message has yet to appear. And so it's okay to have it. We just want to give our body more strength to honor ourselves with love while we hold this anxiety. We're basically telling our whole consciousness that we can have more than the anxiety. Because sometimes the anxiety feels like it's everything. It's taken over. There's no place else to go. Would you open to the possibility that it's teaching you a lesson? That the shadow is in a worthwhile process. And let both of them live together. Now we're only going to stay with this another minute or so. But this is an open door for you to go back and do this on your own. And do it for a while. Not to annihilate your limitation, but to put it in a place of perspective that it's comfortable. And right now in the world, I think that's a good tool. We see so much that we cannot control. And we may have so much anxiety about it and so much anger. And we can take that and give it a safe place to where it's not with us all the time. It's interesting that I've been waking up in the mornings just with anger towards certain issues in the world. And I do this exercise. After I've done this exercise, they haven't appeared like that. And sounds like I need to go back and do it some more, just to evolve. Okay, I'm coming out of the meditation here. Just know that, I think this is the difference, but one of the differences between good and evil is good takes the shadow and they accept it as a part of them, and they accept it as a lesson that they need to learn. Evil takes the shadow of themselves and puts more anger around it and more force and tries to create power over others while they squash their own shadow. They don't want to feel their negativity. They don't want to feel those wounded parts of themselves. Instead, they take it out onto the world and hurt others. And when we do not feel our shadow, particularly shame, we become more cruel, more animalistic. And so if you just squash all of that out, then your anger becomes more cruel and animalistic. The shadow will come out in a different way. It's never totally squashed, but anger can pervert a shadow so that the person becomes more evil. They don't care how they hurt other people. And this is the work we're doing, is to create a consciousness around the shadow so we evolve beyond it, but also it creates a consciousness for other people to evolve beyond it, which is really great work for all of us to do. So thank you for coming today. I've enjoyed being with everybody, and I hope this was a worthwhile class. So thanks again. And we'll see you again probably in another week or two. I don't know. I generally try to do a class at least every 2 weeks. Sometimes I throw in another one, depending on if ideas pop up. So if there's ideas that you think would be valid for this group and good topics to explore, let me know. Until then, I'll see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Bart.
Thank you.